Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Imagination TV for today. My name is Rosemary Williams-Karam. I'm a proud Nampa and Wiradjuri woman today, meeting you from the lens of the Darug people. Before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to pay my respects to the elders, both past, present, and emerging. I'll now throw it over to my buddy Sahil to introduce himself.
Hello. Thank you, Rosa. My name is Sahil, and I'm meeting you on the lands of the Gadigal people. And yeah, we have a pretty exciting show coming up. And before we go any further, I will pass it along to the other host. I think it's the first time we have 3 hosts, so I'll throw it over to Brendo to talk a bit about what we're talking about today, about the ambassadors who are part of the AIM universe and what we're looking to achieve. Take it away, Brendo.
Thank you, Sahil. And yes, just in case you're wondering, I found Sahil 4 years ago in the pathways of University of Wollongong, and I said, hey, come be a volunteer, and here he is 4 years later running the program out of Wollongong. So thank you, Sahil. And Rosa, what a delight, mate. You've come in from Career Trackers. You've taken on the internship. You're dreaming of being a lawyer, operating in the law space side by side with the sheriff himself, the sheriff of AIM, which is JMO. And what a beautiful, unlikely alliance that is in itself. You got JMO, who's just bumped through a 30-year career in the corporate space, and now he sits side by side with Rosa from Dubbo, Aboriginal woman, who you've got a fascinating life, don't you, Rosa? Can you unpack your family a little bit really quickly? Because I just think it's interesting and it really explains the roots of AIM, really.
Sure can, Brendo. So my family and I didn't know that we were Indigenous up until probably 2015. And my cousin Emily and I started our family's journey, and we went to see heaps of elders in the community, elders in Dubbo, and it was really, really it was an amazing journey. It took a long time. And I'm also of dual heritage. So my father is Syrian, so I have awesome culture all around me. It's just, it's really incredible to be surrounded by culture. I've always been just in touch with nature, and especially the Macquarie River. And I visited Byrock one time before I even knew that we were Indigenous, and Byrock is where my family originated from a long time ago. And I was saying to Brendo yesterday when we were having a chat, I was saying I had never been to Byrock, but it felt like it was the biggest sense of deja vu I've ever had. So culture to me is really important, and it's just, it's absolutely incredible to be here and to be able to talk to everybody.
Thanks, Rosa. And one of our alliance partners is actually Career Trackers, and it's a super important alliance for us in that, we're mobilizing people all over Australia and the world to put their hand up and say, yep, I actually do give a shit, and I want to start a mentoring chapter to support marginalised young people in the neighbouring high schools. In Australia, that's Indigenous students. Across the world, that's a number of different demographics. But the fact that you are a university student that's coming to represent career trackers. We're going to do our darndest to unlock, 30 or 40 students like yourself who want to put their hand up and say, yep, it's not good enough, that the system sort of perpetuates disadvantage, and we're going to try to unlock that with career trackers this year. So stoked to be on the call. Just a little bit of background of AIM, just to set the scene a little bit. Some of us have been around for 8-10 years, and some have just walked in the door this morning. So, started by a JMB back at Alex Park High School, and he started a mentoring program. Was quite rebellious and said these kids have everything they need to within themselves to, number one, be proud of their culture and their history. Number two, play the game at school. And number three, live their dreams with the support and kind of energy from a mentor. 16, 18 years on, we've started a relational network which aims to create social mobility, which essentially gives everyone in that network the ability to connect across unlikely alliances. And with the help of Tyson Yucca-Porter and a bunch of other big thinkers, we've been able to sort of kickstart this thing. The way we're kickstarting it is with 1,000 ambassadors coming in the door to do a social justice project through IMAGI-NATION University. We are fortunate enough to have 5 of those characters on the line with us today, and they're all representing one of the streams that we recruit from, which are executives, school teachers, university students, school students, and citizens. So I'm particularly fascinated with this character who's been really co-designing with us, Athena from MJ Bale, which is quite a reputable kind of, clothing brand in Australia. Athena, do you want to just tell us, you told us earlier that you were the kind of class sort of do-gooder in school, and I really respect that, although that's not socially always, accepted. I just think that's radical. Tell us about your story and what you're doing with AIM this year as an ambassador.
Thank you, Brendan. Firstly, thank you for having me on. I'm one of those people that have just walked through the door, but ready to come in guns blazing. I guess a bit about me, and I guess what ended up, having me connected with AIM. As I said earlier, I am a notorious do-gooder. Growing up, I didn't like the title. I personally just always found myself wanting to help and do other things. I think one of the earliest kind of initiatives I did as a kid was RSPCA Cupcake Day. And I told Mum I was going to bake all these cupcakes, and she had to take them to work and sell them all to all her colleagues, so we could donate a good $20 to the RSPCA. And it started off there. And I think Mum thought, my daughter just wants to bake some cupcakes. And then it just kind of kept on rolling on from there. And it got to a point where my friends actually made a verb up for me called being, you'd be voluntold. So you're not volunteering, you're being voluntold to do something to support, any kind of initiative that I was jumping into. We did a really big one. I'm originally from the Southern Shire, the Gadigal lands, before coming to Brisbane. And down there, we did a big event called Light the Night. So I dabbled in many different kind of initiatives. And it was an event at the time run by pretty much 20, 15-year-olds. And we were the largest community run event for the year in 2012, I think it was. We were very young, but we were all keen to do good. And, I think it's one of those things that people think that spark runs out. As you get older, it's one of those things that they think young people just do. And it turns out it's not. I never grew out of it. I kept on wanting to do more and do good. In the back of my ear, I'm mixed race. My mum's Chinese, my dad's Greek. Grew up with really ethnic parents that loved hard work, but my mum always said, you've still got to make a living and make some money. She was a bit worried that I kept on volunteering throughout uni. I did 6 years back and forth to Cambodia as a volunteer tour leader over there, still volunteering. So scared, the wits out of my mum, thinking I was never going to get a career, but finally landed myself at MJ Bale and recently got the opportunity to be their sustainability manager and prove to her that I can actually get paid to do good, which was a really big win for me. And I had a lot of things happen in my life last year personally. So it was the win that I needed to do good in the world. COVID shook up a lot of plans for everyone across the world. And I was scared to enter the traditional workforce again. So when the opportunity to be sustainability manager at MJBL came up, I made sure no one else could grab it because I really, really desperately wanted it. And I don't think our CEO and founder, Matt Jensen, knew what he did when he placed me here. I think he thought, we're proudly now carbon neutral as a business, the first Australian fashion brand, but that is not where I wanted to stop. And so this half of the financial year and moving into this year, I've been saying we're turbocharging sustainability. It needs to be holistic. It needs to be more. We can't stop at just carbon neutral. We really need to look at all the UN sustainability development goals to guide us forward. And so I've been speaking to the lovely Ben at AIM and very excited to be an ambassador for AIM and pushing the executive arm, because I think there's a huge opportunity, as I said, as you get older, unfortunately, you stop kind of doing good. Or, you get busy, work gets in the way. But I think there's an opportunity for us as adults and as people in the workforce to not just do your 9 to 5, but to have a greater impact in your everyday life and in the way that you do work. So hopefully we can show that and prove that with this executive stream of the ambassador program.
Thanks so much, mate. So good. Let's voluntold everyone in the world. And I just reckon it's radical that you're unapologetic, the do-gooder, and I let's do it. I am too. Let's not be shy and shame about it. Let's go forward. And Sahil, tell us what the ambassadors are from your perspective, bro.
Yeah, no, I think one thing resonated with me. What you said was just one of the many things you said, but was just to do good, to always do good. And I think that's what I see on this call today is a bunch of inspiring humans who have put their hand up to give time in order to change their community. And that's effectively going to, and eventually going to change the world that we're living in. And so, look, this Imagination University, the way I can kind of talk about it in a sense is that it really is a universe, and there's so many different connections happening between everyone. And as Brendan said earlier, we're looking at 1,000 ambassadors, and that means 200 students, school students, 200 teachers, 200 uni students, and 200 execs, and 200 citizens. And all of these will together unlock the power of these unlikely connections that we can make. We're talking about these ambassadors learning the playbook of how AIM has worked and created change on an educational platform for almost 2 decades. And these ambassadors then join the bridge to unlikely connections, leaving our echo chambers and embracing complexity in ideas and in people and their own stories. This is a 10-month project, a change project supported by this new network that we've made, and it's all going to effectively mobilize equality, hopefully. So this week has been pretty special. We've been able to jump into different calls and talk to the candidates who've put their hand up to become ambassadors, and that's some of the people that are on this call today, like Athena. And we're going to open up the panel. And what I think we'll do is I'll ask Joshua to give us a bit of an intro about who you are and then pass it to anyone in the call.
Thanks, Sahil. My name's Josh. So I live on the country of the Kaurna Mirina down on Tarrandon near Adelaide in South Australia. So I'm an artist and a director and a linguist, and I work at the South Australian Circus Centre. So I work a lot in circus and physical theatre, which is kind of strange and weird, but I'm also a linguist as well. And so we do a bit of stuff. We do a lot of stuff with young people down here, but also we have this relationship with Kaurna Warapinchanti, which is organisation committed to the reclamation of the Kaurna language. And Kaurna country down here is really kind of shining example of reclamation of an Aboriginal language in an urban setting. Basically, the last fluent speaker passed away in the 1920s. But then since the 80s, the elders, linguists from Adelaide Uni and Kaurna Mirina themselves have been reclaiming this language and getting it spoken again from parent to baby. And so I'm really honoured to be part of that community. I really love this idea of creativity and social change coming together. And that's really how I ended up here. I was listening to a podcast with Tyson and Jack and Fritjof Capra, and they were talking about imagination. I was like, oh, that's it. That's where it's at. And for me, it's really all about putting us in relationship with a long story. That this is, I reckon, so many of our problems that we're facing at the moment, and there's lots of them, are because most of us are out of touch with this long story that goes backwards and that goes forwards. And if I can contribute to putting people back in relationship with a long story, regardless of who you are, whether you're on sacred country or of yourself or someone else, to put you in relationship with that long story. And so that's who I am. I'm going to pass to, shall I pass to Abia?
Thanks, Josh. Hi, my name is Abia. I'm a fourth year actuarial studies student at UNSW, currently doing a double major in actuary and mathematics. I have been part of AIM for about a year now, back when the president role was a president role, now global ambassador. I think the actual appeal of AIM has always been there for me, because even when I was in high school, I've always known about it, because in student rep councils, we would talk about Indigenous programs and stuff that we can bring into the school. And I think knowing that from high school, I've always wanted to be a part of something that cultivates change. And even though I want to be someone who makes big change, I feel like AIM is a place that starts off with the small idea that I have and flourishes into something major. And being a part of this dynamic team has been something that I'm very proud of, and probably one of my biggest accomplishments. And I'm so grateful that everyone's been welcoming me in, and I'm excited to create this change and be a part of something that's really great for the future and for the present as well, and bring all those ideas in together. So that's me. I will pass this on to Janice now.
Thank you. It was really good to hear everyone's stories, and thank you for having me on. But my name is Janice, and I usually live on Darawal land in southwest Sydney, but now I'm on Gadigal land at the University of Sydney. So I'm in my third year at uni studying politics and international relations at the University of Sydney. It sounds really fancy, but it's just basically arts. I think I was interested in social justice probably throughout high school, but I think at the same time, I was in an environment where I was very much academically focused, so I wasn't engaging in it too much until probably year 12, where I remember I started at Vinnie's, which was very, I guess, low impact. It was just at a retail store near where I lived. But yeah, from there, I got into uni, and I don't think I thought about, I always thought about racial inequality, gender inequality, but until getting into uni, I didn't think about educational inequality that much. I think even though I'm not even a First Nations student. I'm just my parents migrated from India. I was living in Western Sydney, but already seeing that kind of educational inequality, me getting to USyd and already seeing that I couldn't fit in. There were a lot more privileged kids at USyd. And I could feel that I could really start to understand educational inequality. And in my course, when I was looking around, I thought it would be a good space for me to not only look at how similar people like me could go to uni, but even people from different backgrounds who I don't even see at the university. So I came across AIM, and I thought Jack's story was really inspiring. And so I started Abia as a president last year when that was a thing. And I remember when I started, I was pretty new and confused as to what was going on, but immediately AIM was super welcoming. And I think, it kind of makes you feel like you do have some agency and power in creating social change, because you hear a lot about issues and it seems very idealistic to think, we can eradicate or reduce this issue in so many years. But I think AIM's done a really good job. And even through the last year that I've been volunteering with AIM, even though COVID kind of came in the middle of last year, I could see how much change we were making. And even at O Week this week, when we had a stall, I'm hearing so many good stories of students who've come through AIM who made it to the university. And so, I'm really excited to continue the amazing work that we do this year and hopefully learn from all of you. So I will pass it on to Eunice.
Hi, my name is Eunice. I'm from Mexico, and this is my second year participating in IMAGI-NATION Uni. Back in high school, I was similar to Athena. I always wanted to make social movements. I always trying to teach people how to recycle, try to teach them all about these problems, and teachers were always there supporting me. but I noticed that I loved art. And even if I love art so much, doing art, it's great, but doing it with a meaning behind or doing it for helping others, it's much better. And when I wanted to start doing that, I felt a little bit lost because I didn't know who to go to or who I should talk to because my teachers didn't really know how to help me in that area. So when I found Imagination Uni, I found AIM, I felt like this is an opportunity meant to be. All the mentors helped me a lot through my journey last year. And that's basically me.
Cool. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for those really nice intros. Rosa, you're going to get stuck into some cool questions for the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to say thank you guys so much for sharing your stories. It's absolutely incredible, and it's amazing to see such a diverse amount of people like coming into this program. It's insane. The first question is for Joshua. What is the strangest place you've ever learned something in your life? Like, where's the strangest place?
Oh, great question. The strangest place I've ever learned something in my life. I don't know. What a great question. I think the strangest places I think probably the strangest place I've ever been is, there's lots of answers. Some of them are like geographical places. Some of them are like emotional places. I think probably the answer is an emotional place rather than a geographical place, and it's that place where you realize that the icky, awkward feelings of making mistakes are necessary. Where you go, oh, I don't know how to act in this place, and maybe I'm being accused of or being the object of someone else's negative energy, and actually it's my job just to receive it. And actually the best thing is just for me to push through and just go, oh, this is part of the story. Like, lots of people have to deal with this stuff every day, and so for me to deal with it in this place is absolutely fine. And for lots of people, that's a very, very strange place. Lots of people, especially lots of people like me, don't want to get into that place very much. And actually we have to kind of just, in order for this country and for lots of the world to heal, we actually have to go through some ickiness and some awkwardness and some, so I reckon that's the strangest place that I've learned something in. Great question, Rosa.
Oh, that's beautiful. Really good answer to a good question. But yeah, I think the next people to chuck a question to would be to Janice and Abia. Whoever wants to answer the question can race to it first. But obviously you guys were presidents last year, and they're now the uni student ambassadors this year. And what that means in a nutshell for anyone watching is that you're a university student and you put your hand up to lead a program. And what that means is recruiting mentors at your university who are on the same journey as you, wanting to create change. You recruit some schools in your local area, and then you train these mentors and you head out to these schools in what we call tutor squads, and you deliver a really fun but impactful program to these kids, where the mentors and the mentees in the program get so much out of it. So my question to you would be, to whoever wants to answer it first, is that how did you find it organizing the program last year?
Janice, just drop in whenever you feel like it. Unless you want to go first. You go?
No, you can go first and then I can add one.
Yeah. So basically I've worked really closely with Janice, Brendo, Sahil, Jade, all of those AIM people. And I guess I I think even though as much as you prepare for your first tutor squad and you want everything to be smooth, you have like a step-by-step instruction list of everything that you want to get done, nothing ever goes to plan. And I think we noticed that in our first ever tutor squad when I guess like I was late because of traffic, all of these, like everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. And just making it there on time and getting to see the kids looking right at us and with their bright, eager faces, ready to get some like do some fun stuff while still like learning about how to the importance of education and how to navigate your way through life with our help as well. So I think the organization of it all was very come as you go. And when we were in that space, I think we just knew once you meet the students and you get a feel of what they're like and how each dynamic is and how they work together as a team, you then have to create your plan and what you can do. Improvisation is probably the best word to put it. And yeah, I guess there's no rule with organization. I think you have to go with the flow and see, and always just have like backup plans in your head as well, because they're very important. Plan B's and C's are probably your go-tos after your plan A doesn't work. And that's probably the biggest thing with organization I've learned with AIM is just go with the flow and don't take things way too seriously or harsh. Just make sure you have fun and make sure the kids are being as engaged as you can. And I guess like changing it up and switching it up is always like the best way. So yeah, maybe like organization isn't really like the best word that I would put up, like just knowing the structure and like how you can like go around the change as well is something that I would put my like the experience so far. Janice, do you want to add anything or say your own piece?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. There was definitely a lot of improvisation, but I think it was a good experience, like especially for us this year. Last year helped us understand. I think, yeah, we'll put in like so many strange positions that we've never, like things that we've never done before. Like I remember at the start of the year at uni, like going up to people and say, do you want to volunteer? Like we didn't have a stall. It was just us with a notepad. I think usually at unis people think it's like a political party or group who's going to approach them. So yeah, it was good to like start, like do things outside of our comfort zone. And I think last year was a really good learning experience for this year so that we're more prepared and we can hopefully make a bigger impact on kids' lives.
Great to hear from the presidents and called the ambassadors. And it's kind of, I can't help but think that this little Zoom call live streamed to YouTube is a little bit like our monthly engagements, UNC times 5, unlikely connections times 5, which is kind of the algorithm that we're running with at, you know, this network that we're developing. And you know, that exchange, I kind of, yeah, I sort of think like we've been doing a lot of social justice programs and it's really easy for an organization like AIM to be boxed up and to sit within a wrap plan of some organization that might give some money but go back to business as usual. And I think, you know, the terms of our political terms, Australia and much the same in many other countries, you roll over, you know, every 3 years or so. And to your point, Josh, you've got this longevity of story, but then you've also got these walls to break across nations, genders, races. And I think with those two ingredients, I think we're onto something in terms of this relational network, imagination. And I'm fascinated, you referred to the podcast with Tyson, Josh. I just think there's a unique emergent possibility with these ambassador recruitment. If we can have Zoom calls like this, which is totally bubbling inside me looking at all you guys, and have real exchange, I just think, I just wanted to kind of mention that and stoke the fire a little bit in terms of the capacity of, you know, you've got Rosa from Dubbo who's, you know, connecting across to Eunice in Mexico, and it's just beautiful. So I'm going to throw it back to Sahil, and we'll keep the show on the road.
Thanks, Brendan. This having everyone here listening to each other's stories, I think is the most impactful way to start this journey together of Imagination University. And A bit of a story time for me was that yesterday morning, I jumped into my first call, and it turned out to be with Eunice, who's on the call today. And it started off my day in the best possible way. She's an inspiration, and it is really cool what she's got planned this year. So I will just pass the ball to her to talk about her change project and maybe reflect on a little bit of your experience last year with Imagination University as well.
Well, first I will start talking a bit of my project of last year. Last year, I talked about mental health because sadly in my surroundings, there was a lot of stories of mental health that wasn't getting attended and that people didn't put attention on that. So I created a website where I used photos, diary entries, students' IDs, even like this experience, I created four characters, which each one represented a different disease. For example, it will be depression, anxiety, the need to be the perfect daughter for your parents. And I just created in this experience where you can feel the pain of the characters, feel how they felt, and try to understand them more so I could raise awareness and create empathy for the people who pass through these problems. And this year, I'm targeting to a younger audience. I'm creating short stories for kids around 10 years to 5. And I will talk about tech safety, social justice, discrimination, and all these topics that are usually categorized as adults topics, because I noticed that kids want to get involved, but they just don't know enough. And I found this really interesting education method that is called Montessori, and it's giving kids the tools to learn how to listen to their body, how to know their body. Like I've seen that kids learn the body parts at around 5 years old. They know where the organs are. So if they are able to do that, they will definitely be able to learn about these social problems, and it will make them want to create change since they're really young.
Eunice,
And
it's
yeah,
amazing. Sorry, I was just fascinated because the self-awareness emergence of the last 20 years, you're pointing to that in some of your work, and super important. Rather than training lemmings to get jobs, training self-awareness, I think, is such a beautiful thing. Great to see you representing that in Mexico. I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
It's fine, thank you. So now we're targeting kids because I know that we can create change in adults. It's possible, but it's way harder. It takes a lot of work. So if we change the focus from adults to kids, maybe we can make a better world with kids that are the next generation of people who are getting older, who are going to work, who will create all these social impact projects. And I feel like kids are our future. That's why I'm trying to target them this year.
Cool. You do me a favor and continue to connect with this gang on the call throughout the year. I think there's some magic in this, in Unlikely Alliance ×5. And, I can't help but see an alliance in, like, I got a story yesterday from Rosa. Rosa had a moment in year 8 or 9. You were telling me, Rosa, about a teacher that basically bailed you up and sat 5 of you down and said, look, enough's enough. I can see you guys and where you're headed. And she told a particular personal story about her brother. And then that affected your, the way that you were able to navigate through year 10 and eventually get onto university. I want to link this story to your notorious do-gooder on the call, because I can't help but think that was the spirit with which Athena kind of operates. And maybe you guys can go toe to toe for a bit and tell that story and maybe relate it back to what you're doing this year.
Rosa, did you want to tell me a little bit more about the story?
Yeah, cool. Sure can. So I was just having chats with Brendo yesterday, and I just shared that when I was in year 9, I wasn't necessarily a bad kid. I was just not like I was just not performing to my potential. I just didn't really care about school. I wanted to fit in as a young person. I look visibly Middle Eastern, so I was like bullied a lot throughout school. So anything to run with the cool kids, I would do. And I had a really amazing teacher to this day. Like her and I are like really good friends. Like I know all about her kids. I've met her kids. Like she's incredible. She bailed me up, and she bailed a couple of us up, like Brendo said, and sat us down and was like, "Hey, like I all you guys need is somebody to believe in you, and I've seen your potential, and I know that you can do this." She's like, "You're frustrating me because like you're wasting this potential and you don't even realize, like you're trying to be cool." And she's like, "What, these people outside of high school, yeah, they're going to be cool in high school, but what are they going to do after?" She's like, "You guys have like we're all from diverse like groups and stuff." She was like, "So you guys have the potential to really like make change." Like she's seen that in us when we were in year 9. It was incredible. And she shared a personal story about her brother. She's like, my brother is for instance, like I won't go into too much detail, but she said my brother is now heading to juvie. When he was like a state runner, like he was incredible at he was like mad athletic, and now he's going to juvie, and I think since then he's reoffended. So she was like, "So like, do you know what I mean?" Like she was like, "I can see potential in people," and she's like, "And if I can do anything to intervene now when kids are young, that's what I'll do." And she's like, "And when I look at you, I look at my brother, like I see my brother." So she was like, it was just really amazing. And I'm a bit like, since then I turned like just barely passing or not passing into, I'm like, "No, you know what? I'm going to be the top, and I'm going to work my butt off, and I'm going to do it." And thanks to her, I realized like that's like education is so important. And if I didn't have her intervening when I was that young, I don't know where I would have been. I don't think I would have been at university. I don't think I would have actually cared about what I was doing after school, even though I didn't know that I wanted to do law until year 11. Like I wouldn't have even gone to year 10. So like I'm a firm believer in a kid just needs at least one. If one person believes in a kid, then it's just incredible. So yeah.
My heart is just like going insane right now, only because hearing stories like that, something that resonates with me so much. I was very lucky in high school to have a lot of mentors in my teachers, and I know that unfortunately isn't the case for everyone. And if we're being entirely honest with you, not all teachers are, they get tired, they get exhausted, students wear them down, and I respect that. They are, some of the most hardworking people in our society, but there are those few that truly are there to support you and push you. And I was so lucky, as I said, that first event that I did when I was 15, I remember I had to fill out this 20-page council document, and I was looking at it, I'm like, what do I write? Like, I don't understand. What's a city plan? I don't know what a city plan is. And I had a free period, and my teacher sat me down. She's like, "Let's do it together," rather than taking it from me and doing it for me. She's like, "Come on, let's do it together. It's an important thing for you to learn." And she sat there, and we filled out this form, and it was all fine. And that same teacher has always had a lot of faith in me. For my grade, I was always very, very young. I was one of the youngest in my grade. And so, unfortunately, as I feel like a lot of people in this group will know, even when it comes to age, people assume because you're younger, you don't know anything, you're not experienced, and therefore you probably just shouldn't do it because you're not equipped. And so I didn't ever want to accept that as a limitation. And I was, as I said before, I used to be a tour leader in Cambodia. And so we had a lot of young people, but I used to go ask my parents, "How old are you?" Because you're about to look after my child in a foreign country. Totally valid question for a parent. I respect that. When I first recruited my first volunteers, I was actually still 17, but I would be 18 by the time I tour led. And, 6 years later, thankfully, I finally had the age to be like, yeah, in my 20s. They're like, "Okay, you can take my kids." But I really had to win over that trust at the beginning. And I was really, really fortunate that even though I was relatively young in the role, I had my teachers come back to me. And it was that same teacher that supported me when I was 15, brought me into the school, and we ran our first ever school trip. And it's something that they normally don't want to do. It's high risk. We built houses with our local team over there. So, when you tell a parent your kid's about to come over with me to Cambodia and build a house, they look at you like, "No, they're not. The house will fall down." It's like, no. We have a local team to help us with that. We take on local experience. But, I truly do believe what you're saying around having faith in young people. And on my first trip, reason what sent me to Cambodia was schoolies. I didn't do a traditional schoolies. I volunteered overseas. And the owner of the organization had said to me, I said, why do you focus a lot of attention on young people? And she goes, young people, and Eunice, this is why I loved your idea. Young people need to know of the problems of today, because they are going to unfortunately be the people that solve the problems for tomorrow and carve a better future. And so if they don't know what the problems are, which unfortunately, earlier generations have been a part in making it, then how will they take on this world without knowing and being equipped with everything? And so I truly believe in the power of young people. I don't think they're inexperienced at all. I don't think age matters, because I think there's something, even in my organization, I'm relatively junior, I'm relatively young, but I say, there's something great about being naively ignorant to the ambitious goals that I'm setting for us, because I don't see them as something impossible. I just think we need to find a better way around it and to get there. And I just think there's so much power in uni students, high school students, all the way down to primary school kids. I did a talk to year 11 students, and what is sitting in their little minds, I'm so impressed by. They asked me, what would you tell the Prime Minister if you got to sit down with him for 5 minutes? I was like, oh God, I don't know. And there was an 11-year-old asking me. So I really do believe that you do just have to have faith in our young people. And if you can do that, you can truly help spearhead that change. But also, in adults, I think a lot of adults didn't have that growing up, and that's why they've, given up hope and they haven't mobilized getting older. And so, it's our role as the older people in society, as we start to have more senior roles, to encourage that in younger people, because we need to help them pave the way from what we know. So I love that story, Rose. I'm glad that your teacher had that support in you. That's really, really beautiful.
Thank you so much. I'm really I still to this day, every time I get an achievement, or when I started working at AIM in through career trackers, I messaged her. I was like, guess what? I'm a legal intern. And she's like, yeah. And her husband's like, yeah, we'll FaceTime. It was so cool. So cool. And I 100% agree with you. You just need people to take chances on kids. And I was talking to somebody in AIM the other day, Christy, actually, she's in HR. I was saying to Christy, I was like, we both agreed that you can teach people all the skills in the world, but you can't teach people how to be decent human beings. And you can teach a kid to, for me, to go to law school and become a lawyer, but you're not going to be able to teach me to go out and talk to people. And it's something that you have to develop. And that's why this program is so important. So I'm going to switch, send it to Brendo now. So Brendo, you've been our recruitment point person during the outreach for this program. Did you want to tell everyone how we're going about it so far and what recruitment's been like?
Yeah, fascinating. I'm always conscious of Jack's story and the story of Aboriginal Australia, where, that really is the roots of AIM, and the idea of going, okay, how can we build out from what we have, which is a proven mentoring model. And I think the linear fashion of that, it failed us we started recognizing that in 2016. So the idea is yes, we're going to work with 10,000 Aboriginal kids by 2025, but it's about having that coming from 10 universities in Australia and 5 representatives from each university, like Janice and like Abia, like you, Rosa, and leading those mentoring chapters, and then joining the dots to a more complex model where we can have characters like Josh, Athena in the mix. So that's really the mentality and the matrix I'm looking at from the recruitment perspective. So finding those base leaders at the universities with our 10 partners in Australia, doing so across universities in US, Africa, and other continents, and then going hard at those 40 corporate positions, those 200 citizens positions. And it's actually super fun, because you get with complexity comes, I suppose, chaos, but it comes a lot of those icky learning moments like Josh referred to. And it's an incredible opportunity. So I wake up in my garage for the last 2 years. I don't wake up in the garage. I go to my garage after I wake up to sit on my computer and try to find these people. And it's a big passion of mine. I'm thankful that Jack gave me the shot at doing this 8 years ago. I'm thankful to meet you guys today. And yeah, it's really just trying to connect the dots with who for example, the best way to recruit is I say, hey guys, we've had a great call this morning. Can you go and tell your peers that we're doing this thing called, imagination? Maybe invite them into it. And I know, Rosie, you've got 799 Indigenous university students in your network. So that's my call to you, Rosie, today. Go and get them and let's run some mentoring chapters in Australia. Yeah, so that's kind of my mentality behind it. I couldn't do what I do without a team that hold it down. You guys, Benny Knight, and a bunch of the other gang at AIM, HR, finance, all the cogs are turning. So thanks for the question. That was fun to try to explain what I do.
That's all good. Thanks for the answer, Brendo. I'm going to pass it over to Sahil now.
Cool. I've been loving watching this. Rosa, Athena, your conversation, the power of storytelling, the power of stories have. It's really cool to see. And then Brendan giving us an insight in what you're doing. And look, like Brendan, you talked about it, and also we saw it firsthand that we're making unlikely connections between each other in this very call. And so one other thing we like to do in AIM, which I love doing when we, which I love doing when we either have mentor training or stuff like that, is to ask a question and just go silent and wait for the first person to come in and say an answer, and then that can be like our wrap up for this session or something like that. So I'm going to ask the question of, maybe it's like a two-part question, because there's two questions on my screen which I really like, so I'm going to just do both. But what's an unlikely connection you've had in your life, and what's your 10-second message to kids around the world? If you can somehow make a link between those two questions and answer it, you've hit the nail on the head. But I'm going to go quiet now, and first person to talk goes for it. I don't know how this will go on the live stream, but let's see how it goes. I'll just wait.
I guess I will go first. Okay. That was so awkward. I didn't know if I needed to go or not. But basically, I was working at my first ever corporate job during the summer, and I think the amount of connections that you make in that field is insane. And I guess in my last couple of days, I was talking to an assistant who we ended up like getting very personal, and I was saying that I'm a quite lefty person, and I love for the people conversations, and I guess him, in his mind, he's very liberal and quite conservative, and I guess having that conversation was very interesting to me, because even though I've heard both sides, and I'm more a part of like people who have like that progressive thought process and aren't very like don't really shut things down because they're for the people. Hearing that perspective was very eye-opening. And I guess like trying to have that discourse between, try to see it my way, but also I'm trying to see it from your perspective, was definitely a learning experience, and something that I probably wouldn't have expected from a person, because I still consider the guy as a friend. And even though we have differing perspectives, it's always good to come together and find a resolution. And I think our resolution was that even though we have the different mentalities and different ethics and values, probably we all come together because we want to, I guess like the main objective that we have together is to build a better future for not ourselves, but also people around us. And I think what I would tell the kids and students who probably will listen to this, I listen to, even though someone might not have the same perspective as you, actively listen to conversations and don't shut people down, because that's probably the worst thing that you could possibly do, because it opens your own narrative, but also opens like the other person's as well. So just be very open and actively listen. That's me.
I'll jump in. My most took me a few seconds to think of the most unlikely connection, but I just remembered end of high school, I was on a train and I noticed an old lady was trying to work out how to get to a suburb, and I was like, I happen to be going near that, I can just help take her there. So I helped take her there, and she asked if I wanted to have a coffee after, and I was like, I'm not going to say no to this lovely old lady. I'm going to, sit and have a coffee. And we shared our stories, and she was visiting her partner, and she remembered my name and the school I went to, and I went on my way. She got her taxi, and we're all good. I went home, never really thought about it again. And then a few weeks later, actually, maybe it was my first year of uni, my high school called me out of nowhere. I thought it was super weird. And she'd sent a card to my school, my old high school, because she recalled that's where I was from, and said, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being you. And I guess that links into my message is, be you, keep being you, be unapologetic about it. Some people might not like it, or it might be strange for people, it might not be conventional, but if you can be true to yourself, and if you can really own that space, it puts you in a powerful place to really make change happen in your personal life, within your environment. But I do also think it empowers yourself to be who you are. So that's my one.
I can jump in. Back a month ago, I was in this program where they will connect us to people who are working in the industry we want to work. I remember in that time, I was having a really hard time with university. I felt really bad. All I wanted to do is cry. So I remember that day I had a call with that person, and I jumped in. And even if she wasn't like this really emotional person and didn't know how to support people, because she told me before, I jumped in and I was crying, and she gave me all the strength and all the words that I needed to hear in that moment to keep going. So something I would say to the kids is that if you need help, ask for help. If you want to do something, do it. Don't let other people stop you from what you want to do. Don't be scared of what other people are going to say. People are always going to say something about what you're doing. So don't be scared and go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
I can go next. I think this one is kind of related to AIM. So through the end of last year, we were trying to also contact corporate people to volunteer with us. So I think an unlikely connection for me, I don't remember what his position was, but this guy who was in a corporate job, I was just like a normal uni student. So hearing that people had their own like secretaries and assistant, I was like, wow, they must be super important. So for me, that was an unlikely connection, talking to him. And with that, my message to students would be, don't be afraid to talk to new people. Don't think that because you're young or you come from a certain background, you're not able to build connections or talk to different people. I think it's always important, to reach out to all kinds of different people, even if they're older than you, different background, because they can always be willing to help out and surprise you. So yeah, that was just my experience.
And then my big message is to always follow your heart. And if you follow your heart, you're going to end up in really, really great places and with really great unlikely connections, like this beautiful unlikely connection of amazing people. But I think the key part of it is listening to the heart and getting in touch with it and then following it.
Do you reckon the heart will get you to icky places, but?
Absolutely.
All right, beauty.
And I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you to people on the call. That's really tough to end on that, because it was a tough question and I just was silent for a bit. So thanks, Abia, for being brave, and everyone here embraced failure today. Just Josh got asked the unexpected question. All of us sharing stories about what we've gone through and things we learned over the last year. So that's essentially it. Athena, you talked about always doing good and being unapologetically you. Rosa, you talked about the importance of mentors through your story. Eunice, you are talking about giving kids the chance to know about what we need to change and being self-aware. Abia and Janice, you talked about what you're looking to accomplish this year as uni student ambassadors, and then Josh, you talked about how it's important to go through some uncomfortable feelings to move forward. And all whilst telling our story and talking about this stuff, we made unlikely connections with each other and told a really good collective story. And so that is basically it. I've never closed up the session, but I learned a lot from everyone here today. And it's been fun. So I'm going to cue in the music. Angus, jump in whenever you want. But thank you for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge about what the ambassador program will be like. Looking forward to seeing you all soon.